All right, this is a quick video on your homework 1A number 5, the one that a lot of you guys were requesting. I am recording this on my phone, so I do apologize if the screen does zoom in and out. Okay, so this question was asking about mercury poisoning in a lake. They say if the amount of mercury in a polluted lake is 0.4 micrograms of mercury per milliliter, what is the total mass in kilograms of mercury in the lake? The surface area is going to be 100 miles squared, and the depth is going to be 20 feet. So we can kind of picture our little shape. We're going to simplify the shape of a lake to be a little rectangular prism, okay? And we know that the volume of a lake is going to be kind of like length times width times height. Length times width is taken care of with our surface area. The depth is going to be with the height. So our first thing that we need to focus on is that we've got two different units for our volume here. So in the end, we need to be somewhere around milliliters. Well, something that you should probably make yourself very familiar with is going to be that 1 centimeter cubed is equal to a milliliter. Oh, sorry, a milliliter. So I would say something that can convert into centimeters pretty easily is what we want to get to. Neither of these are a perfect conversion, but I would say from feet to inches to centimeters would be a pretty easy one. So I'm going to go with making my 100 miles squared into feet. So using the information that you have on the other side, we do have the conversion of 1 mile being equal to 1,760 yards. You can find that on the front side of your worksheet. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and set up our dimensional analysis. I have 100 miles squared. Make my little railroad track and bring miles down. I'm not going to focus too much on the squared yet. I'll bring that back in just a second. 1 mile is going to be the 1,760 yard. I'm going to bring yards down, and I know that yards to feet is 3 feet in every yard. Remember, our conversions are going to be on top of each other, okay? So quick review of the rule for dimensional analysis: you always bring your unit down to the right, and your conversion is always on top of each other, okay? Now, I'm going to show you taking it in steps, and then I'll show you what you probably should do, which is not rounding along the way and pushing equals at all in your calculator. So what we would do here is we do have that square that we need to take into account. So before you type anything in your calculator, we do need to square both of these values. Now, if you notice, I put it in parentheses, and the reason I do that is because instead of just bringing the little square down here and forgetting that this number is also affected, I like to put it around the whole thing so that I know that I'm doing 1,760 squared as well. And then since this will make this a yard squared, this one is going to also have to be a squared value. When you plug this into the calculator, you're going to go 100 times 1,760 squared times 3 squared, and then divided by 1 divided by 1. After you type that into the calculator, you're going to get 2.74 times 10 to the 9th feet squared. Now this is where that, we're going to run into error just because I'm going to be rounding along the way, but I just want to let you know what we have in little pieces. Okay, so what's cool about this is we now have feet squared, and if we do feet squared times feet, we obviously are going to get feet cubed, and that right there is a unit for volume. So we're going to keep moving on. We're going to say 2.74 times 10 to the 9. And remember, in your calculator, you're saying E9. That's that little special button. Come talk to me if you need help with the calculator. Times 20. And we're going to go ahead and get 5.48. And I do recommend you do this in your calculator so you know you're not making mistakes along the way. Okay? But 5.48 times 10 to the 10th feet cubed. Okay? So what we're going to do with that information is now we need to get feet cubed into this centimeter cube so that we have an easy conversion to milliliters. So I'm going to take my number. I'm going to say 5.48 times 10 to the 10 feet cubed. I know in 1 foot there are 12 inches. In 1 inch there are 2.54 centimeters. Now these are all things that you can look up. You don't have to memorize these, but you would use this idea, and since we have our cubed, once again, I'm going to put my parentheses, and I'm going to cube that whole value. I'm going to cube this whole value. So when we go to plug this in the calculator, I'm going to say 5.48 E10 times 12 cubed times 2.54 cubed. When we get that into the calculator, you should be getting 1.54 1.55 times 10 to the 15th centimeter cubed. And this right here represents our volume of the lake in milliliters. Remember, this is a milliliter. Okay, so our next step that we're going to do is we are going to figure out how much mercury is in this amount. Okay, so we're going to take our value right here. We have total volume of the lake. So I'm going to say 1.55 times 10 to the 15th milliliters. Okay. Okay, so we'll have our 1.55 times 10 to the 15th milliliters of lake water. Okay, we're going to go back up to our story and figure out what do we need to do with that? Well, we know that we need to find a mass of mercury in the lake. And so we know that what we do have is 0.4, and that symbol right there is micrograms of mercury per milliliter. And this is per milliliter of lake water. So that's what's going to match up. So we're going to come back down here. And we're going to put our milliliter of lake water. Okay. And this is where we can put our conversion. We can say 0.4, 0.4 micrograms of mercury per 1 milliliter of lake water. Okay. Now, 1 microgram see if you can remember, is 1 times 10 to the negative 6 grams. Okay, but they don't want it in grams. In the end, we want to be in kilograms. So now we're going to also say 1 kilogram is going to be equal to 1,000 grams. Now we're ready to type into our calculator. So we've got 1.55 times 10 to the 15th milliliters of lake water times 0.4 times 1 e negative 6. Once again, use that E button to save you trouble. Don't type in times 10 to the negative 6. It's usually a button that says EE above it. Okay, so take a look for that button on your calculator. That times 1, push equals, then say divided by 1, divided by 1, divided by 1,000. And you should be coming to an answer of approximately 6.2 times 10 to the 5th kilograms of mercury per